I'm just gonna get a quick workout in if you guys don't mind. What is up, homies? My name is Felix and I am here back again with another video for you all today. And in this one, I'm going to be talking about mistakes that almost all beginner producers make, and actually a lot of intermediate, more advanced producers might make as well. But these are things that I see among specifically beginner producers literally all the time, every single day. And all the things on my list here are things that either I did when I was a beginner producer or things that I see a lot of other people do. So yeah, hopefully this video here today should help you to avoid at least some of these mistakes. So yeah, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I produced, my Beatstorm, my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you'd like to do so. And now we can get into this video. So this video is actually going to be separated into kind of two halves. The first half is going to be about like mindset related things, a lot of mistakes people make about thinking a certain way or not thinking a certain way. And then the second half is going to be about a lot of mistakes that I see when people actually make their beats, you know, the way their beats sound and what kind of stuff they use and all that type of stuff. So the first mistake is something that literally everybody does, whether you're a beginner producer or whether you've produced for, 25 years, doesn't matter. Everybody does it, and that's comparing yourself to other people. So this is something that just naturally happens because everybody takes influences from somewhere. Like for example, let's say you really like Metro Boomin's beats or you really like Nick Mira's beats. You're probably going to be comparing your beats to theirs and trying to make a similar style as them. And there's nothing wrong with that in the beginning, right? There's nothing wrong with taking inspiration from people and wanting to sound like a certain person right when you first start making beats, because a lot of the time when you're a beginner of anything, you don't really know where to start, so you just look at what's already out there and try to model your stuff after that. Like for example, when I first started making beats, I literally just copied tutorials that I would see. I would copy their beats exactly, and that's how I learned how to make beats pretty much. Which, like I said, is fine at first, but once you actually understand the fundamentals and you have the tools that you need to actually make your own beats, there's really no real reason to continue copying other people's beats or other people's styles, because once you've learned all the fundamentals, that's when you want to start working on making your own style and just making stuff that comes from your own head. Because honestly, when it comes down to it, you and Nick Mira do not have the same brain, you and Metro Boomin don't have the same brain, you and Kenny Beats don't have the same brain. The way that your brain is wired and the way that you think is personal and very special to you. So even though it obviously is very important to draw inspiration from other producers or other bands or other, songs, whatever it may be, it's really, really important to also draw inspiration from your own head and your own experiences, the way that you feel, the way that you see the world. To remind yourself to make your style of music that comes from your soul, your heart, your brain, whatever, So the second mistake that I see a lot of people make is paying attention to too many rules and listening to too many people's advice, which is a little bit ironic because I'm making a video giving advice right now, but I'll explain what I mean in a second. So I'm sure you've heard a lot of people say that there's no rules to music and there's no rules to art or anything like that, which is pretty cliche, but it is very, very true. So there's a lot of things that are maybe not even rules, but things that a lot of other producers say. Like one very specific example is when people say all your drums should be in mono and all your melody should be stereo. That's not like a set rule or something that you need to do. You can change that up depending on your taste. And obviously there's certain things you can do every time to make your beats sound better, but just experimenting and messing around with stuff is kind of what's fun about being a beginner producer in the first place. And then as far as listening to too many people's advice on stuff, I used to do this all the time. I used to watch videos on like how to blow up as a producer, how to get big artists on your beats, how to, blah, blah, all this stuff. And I'm sure a lot of you have been there as well, right? Watching a video on how to make your YouTube blow up or how to get a Drake placement or whatever it might be. But I stopped watching most of those videos once I realized that not everybody's path is going to be the same. Like the way that somebody else blows up or gets popular is not going to be the same way that you find success. Everybody finds success in a different way. Everybody's path is completely different. It all happens in different ways and different, things come together and different connections get made here and there. But the main point is that it's not going to happen for you the way it happens for somebody else. And a lot of the things you might hear around like, oh, you need to make 5 beats a day or else you're never going to be a successful producer. It's just literally not true. And I hate when people try to push this narrative like you have to be like a beat making machine 24/7, because not everybody is made to work in that type of way. And also, just making a ton of beats, how is that really specifically going to help you unless you have like a plan in place for all those, millions of beats that you're making every single week? So yeah, it's okay to take advice from people here and there, but at the end of the day, you kind of just have to follow your own path. So the next one is something that I see surprisingly very often, and it's a lot of beginner producers thinking that they're just going to be super rich and super famous right off the bat. And I'm just going to be brutally honest with you, whether you like it or not, but it's going to take a long time to make any sort of money or get any sort of recognition for what you're doing. It took me at least 2 or 3 years before I made a single penny from anything music related. Because if you think about it like this, when you're first starting out, it takes a lot of time and effort to actually get good at making beats. And then also on top of that, it takes a lot of time and effort to actually network yourself and get yourself out there and get, people eyes on you and stuff like that. And it does actually take a lot of hard work. In most cases, you are not just gonna blow up overnight. It's just not gonna happen. And a lot of the time, people who do blow up overnight have actually been at it for years before they do, blow up and get popular. So that is why the number one most important golden rule of doing anything is just do it because you enjoy it. Do not start making beats because you think you're gonna make a lot of money or that you're gonna, get a lot of followers or whatever, because it's really just not gonna happen like that. The music industry is not set up for you to make money in the first place, which is a whole other topic. But yeah, just do it because you enjoy it and because you have fun, and that should always be your main focus. Even when you start actually making money, that should be still your main focus. All right, so the next one I'm gonna gloss over pretty quickly, but it has to do with music theory. So something I see super often is that there's kind of two schools of thought. The first one is the I don't need any music theory knowledge whatsoever, I can do this without knowing anything kind of way of thinking. And then the other one is the I need to know literally everything about music theory before I can even start making beats at all way of thinking, which are both incredibly wrong and will not help you at all. So I'm sure you've heard a lot of producers say, oh, well, I don't know any music theory, I just use, MIDI chords, or I just click in the notes, I just have a good ear, or whatever they might say. And while it is true that you don't really need to know music theory in order to make beats, you can just have a good ear and, click notes in and stuff, it is really helpful to know at least some basic music theory stuff. And it is kind of hard to draw the line at like where your music theory knowledge should be, like what stuff you should know. But my recommendation is just learn how to make different chords and, learn a little bit about scales and stuff like that. And from there, you can probably have a good point of reference to start making beats and make, pretty good melodies and beats and stuff like that. And then also, as you go further, you should progress your music theory knowledge further as well. Watch a couple music theory videos here and there, learn some other basic concepts. Don't put yourself into this box of like, I don't need to know any music theory at all. Because even though it's not 100% necessary, it is helpful stuff to know. All right, so now at this point in the video, I'm gonna talk about mistakes that a lot of beginner producers make when making your actual beats. And the first one is bad sound selection, because this is the one that I see with literally everybody, because everybody does it when they're first starting out. You just click the preset stock sounds and you just use those drum sounds, use the preset stock plugins, all that stuff, which is fine to mess around with at first and learn the basics and all that type of stuff. But once you start actually uploading tracks, do not upload anything that has stock drum sounds, or stock plugins are okay sometimes depending on which plugin it is. But yeah, at some point you gotta stop using stock drum sounds. And what I recommend for drum sounds is go to r/drumkits. I don't even really use Reddit like that, but r/drumkits is like a sanctuary for producers. You can pretty much go there, download a bunch of drum kits, and you'll be set for life. Yes, there is a lot of drum kits that get uploaded onto there that should be paid for. For example, Nick Mira's kits, I saw Monty Booker's kit on there. So I'm not promoting that part of it, but there's a lot of stuff that you can get on there that's perfectly fine to use, and that is what I recommend for drums. And then as far as getting better melody sounds, I would recommend watching any one of my free VST videos. I'll put a link to some of those down in the description below. You can go watch those and get yourself some much better sounds. All right, so the next problem that I see very often is beginner producers having a bad mix. And when you're starting out, it's natural for your beats to not be mixed very well because obviously you're just starting out. However, one basic rule you should follow is just if something sounds too loud, turn it down. If something's too quiet, turn it a little bit up. All of your sounds in your beat should mesh well together. Nothing should be really sticking out or being really out of place or anything like that. And then also when it comes to your actual finished beat, the whole beat should not be way too loud, and also should not be way quiet to where people have to turn up their speakers to actually be able to hear it. There's a lot of stuff involved with mixing that you'll learn later on down the line, but for now, just follow those rules and you'll pretty much be fine. Also, another really common beginner mistake is having no variation in your beat. So a lot of times when you're first starting out, what you'll do is you'll just make a melody, you'll make a drum pattern, and then just play the whole thing for your entire song, and that's your whole beat done. And what you really want to do is add different layers in your melody so that you can take things out after maybe like 8 bars or maybe 16 bars, however you want to structure it, but just have a good amount of sounds in there to where you can take certain things out in certain parts, then bring them back in, and do all sorts of different combinations with your beat so that it doesn't get too repetitive, because nobody wants to listen to the same 8-bar pattern for like a whole 3.5 minutes. So yeah, just change up your beats a little bit here and there. So another really common thing I see with a lot of beginner beats is having no transitions between the different sections in your song, or just having transitions that don't really sound very good or they don't fit the song. If you click right here, you can watch a video I made on a bunch of different transitions you can use for your beats if you need any ideas. But I've noticed that a lot of times beginner producers don't even put anything to transition from like the intro to the main part of your song where all the drums drop in and then the hook, the verse, whatever, all that other stuff. You don't always need to have some type of transition, but a lot of times it sounds really nice to have at least some sort of crash or something in there. So another thing that I'll see very often with beginner producers is having different melody components that are out of key. And this kind of comes back around to knowing a little bit of music theory, musically, but you don't even really need to know any music theory if you just turn on scale highlighting in your DAW that you use. I don't know much about Logic or Ableton or Reaper or whatever other DAWs there are, but I use FL Studio, and I know there's a really easy scale highlighting feature in there. And then also LMMS, which is a really good beginner program that I started on, now has a scale highlighting feature as well, so I would assume if that program has it, probably a lot of other professional DAWs do as well. But other than scale highlighting, I would just say try to use your ears to the best of your ability. If something sounds off, try to find a better note for it, try to move it somewhere where it sounds a little bit better. Just stuff like that. Obviously, when you're a beginner, there's going to be a lot of things that are just kind of guess and check and just see if it works. All right, so now the final thing is, depending on the reason why you're making beats, like what you want to make beats for, sometimes I see beginners make their drum patterns and melodies way overcomplicated. Like for example, if you're trying to make beats for rappers and that's your goal to, make songs with people and have beats that people can rap on, you should definitely not be overcomplicating your drum patterns or melodies, because you need to have space in there for the rapper to actually rap on the beat. And if there's just way too many elements in there, way too many, clashing melodies and just a bunch of different percussion sounds and crazy hi-hat rolls and stuff like that, it's just not a good beat for somebody to rap on. And you have to kind of put that into consideration when you're making your beats. Like, are you making them for somebody to rap on? Are you just making them for yourself to have fun? And if that's the case, just make them however you want. But anyways, you just have to keep in mind what you're going to be doing with that beat after you finish it. If you guys want me to make a whole video on how to make your beats more rappable and easier for rappers to use, just leave a comment down below and I'll make sure to get on that. But yeah, anyways, that's pretty much going to do it for my list of beginner mistakes that I see literally all over the place. But regardless of all the stuff that I talked about here today, there's one main important point that I would want you to focus on, and that is that you should always just be making beats to have fun. The main goal is to just have fun, enjoy what you're doing, be passionate about it, don't worry about all this other stuff. Don't really worry about making mistakes or doing things a certain way. As long as you're having fun, as long as you're passionate about making beats, you're gonna be just fine. So yeah, make sure you guys check out my Instagram and my SoundCloud down in the description below, along with the playlist of songs I produced, my beat store, my Discord, all that stuff. Go check it out if you'd like to do so, and I will see you guys next time.
Bad thing, you're a mess. I know what you're here for, listen for. I know what you can't see, shouldn't read. It gives satisfaction that you crave. I'm only just a tool for how you don't need.